Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to Divine Allegiance. I'm your host Maulana Baig and thank you for tuning in. We are discussing spirituality. We are very close to the month of Ramadan. Might be starting tomorrow in Southern California, but maybe most places might be on Saturday. We will be knowing tonight. We will be watching the moon and seeing. The news will be out by tonight. Thursday night about when the first is going to be, either Friday or Saturday. So we are discussing spirituality and wanting to know how we are going to take advantage of this month of Ramadan. So the questions are coming in, and let me get to these questions right away, which are in tune with the topic, which is very good. The first question is attraction for dunya. Comes in from New York. And obviously, New York has a lot of dunya to offer. So that's, I guess, you know why the question is. Regarding the attraction of dunya, can you explain a little bit more regarding that and how that works? Well, the dunya, Allah has made the dunya an attractive place. It's not something that's ugly. It's not something that's terrible. It's not something that's horrible. In reality, it is. But we don't see it that way. There are things that are attractive, that we admire, that we look at, and that are pleasing. A lot of places like we go to, for example, you see are very pleasing. You can go to the Grand Canyon. You can go to, different beautiful scenes that Allah has created. And they are pleasing for the eyes. Allah speaks about it in the Quran. Let me read some ayat for you in regards to that. He says, Inna ja'alna ma alal ardi zinatan laha linabluwahum ayyuhum ahsanu amala. He says, we have made that which is on the earth beautiful. It has been made beautiful. Why? In order that we test you to see who's better of you. We didn't make it ugly. We didn't make it despicable. We made it attractive because that would be the setting for the test for you. So dunya is an attractive place. Or for example, it says as al-malu wal-banun zinatul hayatid dunya. It says that wealth and children are the beauty or the adornment of the life of this world. So wealth and children, they are attractive. It's not something horrible. When you have wealth or when you have children, it pleases you. So it's not something bad. And that's what we need to keep first in mind. Keep that in mind, that dunya is attractive. Now, in relationship to growth and faith, attraction of the dunya is given to a person according to the faith that he has. Meaning that the dunya that you get a lot of times, and in terms of the intensity, not the amount. Amount doesn't matter. The intensity, the greatness of this dunya. When Allah speaks about, for example, children, your child that you have is an attraction for you. So now you are looking at that child and waiting for that, and seeing how you can let go of that child to go towards Allah. Can you sacrifice that? Can you overlook that? Can you fight that attraction? So obviously Allah, He gives you the attraction in front of you, an attraction that you can handle. If He gives you an attraction that you cannot handle, then it will be wrong on Allah's part that you gave me a test that I could not pass. And I was not able to get through it because it was just too difficult. So, for example, I have a son that is an attraction for me, and I have to deal with this relationship and this attraction and see how I can overcome this attraction. How I can overcome this attraction. The example of Yaqub and Yusuf. Allah gave Yusuf to Yaqub, and Yusuf was so attractive. Not just in looks, no, in his character, he was so beautiful. He was such an attractive person. that Yaqub had a hard time letting go of him. And that was, you can say, one of the reasons that Yaqub could not find solace and comfort until he met Yusuf. And the only way that he met Yusuf, Allah kept him away from Yusuf. He had to give him up. But he didn't take Yusuf out of his heart. And the minute that he took Yusuf out of his heart, he realized that he had this unwanted attachment to Yusuf. And rightly so. I mean, listen, you have a son like Yusuf, you'd be going crazy also. He had that. But when he got rid of Yusuf from his heart, that's when Allah let him meet Yusuf. He gave him back because he got rid of him from the heart. He detached himself. See, that's important. That attraction, Allah gives it to you in order for you to detach yourself, separate yourself from it. Allah gave Ismail to Ibrahim, and Ibrahim was able to do that. That's why Ibrahim passed the test right away, and Allah praised him for that. It says, Ismail is not just a normal person, that normal son that you just, he is attractive. He is truly attractive. And for you to detach yourself from him, impressive. Really impressive. That's the idea, folks. Allah gives you the dunya to the level of your faith, and you see that the more faith you have, the greater the dunya that comes to you, and it becomes a test for you. And that's why, we don't have someone like Ali Akbar as our son. We wouldn't be able to deal with it. We couldn't. It was he is too attractive for us. For Imam Hussein, he was a test. Having a son like Ali Akbar, Hussein, you will have to let go of him. And Hussein said, anytime you ask me Allah, he'll be the first one to go. You see, this, my friends, is that dunya, that attraction that comes and you separating from that. It's a difficult thing. It's a hard thing. So, dunya is attractive. Allah made it attractive generally, but He gives this attraction to believers in order that they can grow from that they can find their growth in the midst of the dunya that they have been given. And this also brings me back to the hadith I mentioned about the spacious house. And friends, the idea is that in this dunya, a mu'min has a spacious house. It becomes the platform for his growth. Why? Because the more dunya he has, the more he's sacrificing for Allah. The greater will be his flight. And this is the logic that works and the reasoning that works to make you grow higher. So that is regarding the dunya. Let me get to the other question, because tomorrow we'll be going to the lectures on Ramadan. So I'm going to get this over with. The last question is that how do we know that we are growing? Because, we do our things. Is there any signs that we can look at by which we can figure out if we're headed in the right direction or not? Because it is true, we do a lot of things. We work on a lot of things. But sometimes, we need to know also. Ibrahim asked for signs from Allah for his own self-satisfaction. And, sign of creation, Allah. The stories in the Quran, how Ibrahim asked Allah to show him the sign of creation. Allah says, don't you believe? Of course I believe. But it's not about my faith. I just want that self-satisfaction. So for us, how do we know that we are growing? So there is a litmus test, my friends. There are some litmus tests that we can look into to see whether we are growing or not. And I'm going to mention one of them to you right now. And because the month of Ramadan is here, this is in tune with the month of Ramadan and the idea of fasting. So, what is a litmus test? To know that you are progressing, that you are making advancements in your faith. How do you know that? So, one of the best methods and the best techniques to know that we are growing in our faith is to evaluate, examine our attachment and our connection and our affection for the mu'mineen, the oppressed and the downtrodden in the world. The people who are oppressed and the people who believe in Allah, how much affection do we have for them? People who are mustad'afin, weak, poor, victims of oppression and injustice, how much affection we have for them. We need to look at ourselves and see, when I was practicing 20 years ago, and for 20 years I've been practicing, in these 20 years, has my affection grown for the oppressed? Has my attachment grown for the oppressed? There's always victims of injustice. There's always going to be oppressed people. And those oppressed people are there. And one of the wisdom behind it is so that we can test ourselves how our faith is growing. If we are growing, then it means that our connection and our affection with the oppressed people is going to grow. No matter who they are, Muslim or not, we need to see that in our heart. Do I watch the news and feel pain when I see someone else in pain? Or do I look at it and just ignore it as if it's not happening? Or at least I'm happy that it's not happening to me. What is our attitude towards the oppressed? Anywhere in the world. Right now, let's even just look at the Muslim world. Let's look at the believers, Muslims, believers, the Muslim world. Just look at that. Look in, for example, Palestine. The oppressed people there under the yoke of Israel. Look at Kashmir, the oppressed Muslims there. Look at Bahrain. Look at Syria. Look at all the other places where there is oppression going on and injustice and tyranny. And there are people who are suffering. Look in Yemen. This horrible war that has been going on in Yemen, a one-sided affair, just massacring innocent people. I mean, when we look at that, how much attachment do we have? Is it growing, or are we becoming apathetical? We don't care. It's not my business. I'm not going through it. What is our attitude? Let me give an ayat to you, and from there you understand it. In Surah An-Nisa, ayat number 75. That's chapter 4. Ayat number 75. Allah says, وَمَا لَكُمْ لَا تُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالْمُسْتَضْعَفِينَ مِنَ الرِّجَالِ وَالنِّسَاءِ وَالْوِلْدَانِ الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا أَخْرِجْنَا مِنْ هَذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ الظَّالِمِ أَهْلُهَا وَاجْعَلْ لَنَا مِنْ لَدُنْكَ وَلِيًّا وَاجْعَلْ لَنَا مِنْ لَدُنْكَ نَصِيرًا. And what possible reason do you have that you do not fight in Allah's way and in the way of those who are weak and oppressed in the land? Why aren't you fighting, struggling for the cause of the oppressed? Why aren't you doing that? the men and the women and the children who are being oppressed in the land. You see, this question Allah is raising, and it shows that if a believer, if he is growing, then you see this attachment is going to grow. Allah is making a direct link between two things. A direct link between fi sabilillah wa fi sabilil mustadhafin. What is fi sabilillah? It means fi sabilil mazloom, fi sabilil mustadhafin, meaning the path of the oppressed people. You want to see how well you're growing in Allah's path? You need to see how well you're growing in the path of oppressed people. How much do you care about them? How much are you attached to them? He made this tangible goal to become a litmus test for your growth. That's how you know, my friends. That's how we find out. You want to know how much you're growing? How much do you care about them? How much do we care about them? And that is how you get to know whether your prayers are working, whether your fasting is working, whether all the things that you're doing for Allah's sake is working or not. All of that. If it's working, it means that your attachment, your love, your commitment, your struggle will be towards eradicating dhulm and helping those who have been victims of dhulm and oppression. That's where we need to go. And you know what? It's not just everywhere. I mean, it's not just Muslims. Everywhere you look at it, no matter if it is, for example, the young black kids who are being targeted by police and are being killed over here, or it's the Native Americans who are being targeted and being oppressed and victimized. No matter who it is, right? Whatever it is, if it's the Muslims who are being targeted because of their faith and they're being labeled as terrorists, and propaganda and media going against it and making them a target, all of these things, when you look at these oppressions that are going on, where do you stand and how much do you stand with them? Is that stance and is that commitment growing or not? This is the litmus test of your faith working. How do you know that your crying for Imam Hussein is working, is making you grow, is real? How do you know that? It's by this. My friends, a person who cries for Imam Hussein cannot walk across someone dying on the street and ignore him. If there is one lesson that we learn from Imam Hussein without being taught, without having to research or without having to analyze, is the fact that we stand with the Muslim, with the oppressed. That's what it is. I mean, what more basic lesson do we have from Imam Hussein? If I see someone dying on the street, I just don't ignore and go the other way. Imam Hussein said, if you are my believer, you can't do that. You can't do that. You got to be the person who's saying that, wait a minute, someone oppressed him, I need to do something. So that's the litmus test, my friends. And building up that commitment, and building up that affection towards the oppressed is a sign of faith, and a sign that faith is growing. A sign that faith is growing. It doesn't matter if they're Muslim or non-Muslim. Victims of oppression anywhere, it's wrong. And we as a believer, we need to stand up for it. And here Allah gives us the honor. Truly, He gives us an honor. This ayat, look at this ayat very well. He says that these are the people, when they make dua to Allah, They said, Rabbana akhrijna min hadhihi al-qaryata adh-dhalim ahluha. That Allah, help us to go out of this land whose people are oppressing us. We are under the yoke of their oppression and their aggression. We are the victims of this harsh treatment that is being meted out to us. Allah, help us, get us out of here. And how do you help us? Waj'al lana min ladunka waliyan. Send us a wali, a leader. Waj'al lana min ladunka nasira. And send us a helper. He says, Allah, send us a wali, meaning an authority, a leader, and send us a helper who will help us. Two things they're asking for, a wali and nasir, leader and helper. And Allah is saying, if you answer that call and go forth and help them in any manner possible, then Allah is giving you the honor of becoming His wali and His nasir, meaning Allah's wali. You're Allah's wali for these people. You're Allah's nasir for these people. You become a waliullah by helping the oppressed. You become the helper of Allah by helping the oppressed. This is an honor, my friends. When the Muslim that's in the world, any place in the world, it is a call for us to become Allah's wali in the land, to take that role. Imagine the honor that Allah is giving to us if we go ahead and do that. This is a blessing. This is an amazing honor and respect that Allah is offering to believers to show the effect of their faith and the growth of their faith by going out and helping those who are oppressed, no matter how you do it. Maybe all you can do is raise the voice. Maybe all you can do is write a letter to your congressman, Maybe that's all you can do. Maybe all you can do is just say, I don't like it. Then say it. Even when you're alone, just say it. Make it known that I am against it. I stand against it. I stand for those people. Let it be known to whatever extent you can do. And that's how, my friends, your faith is growing. We need to be going toward that. So, this also ties in with Ramadan, which is going to be starting hopefully the next 1-2 days, because the whole purpose of Ramadan is this, that you fast, you go hungry so that you can realize the hunger of others, those who don't have. You do not eat things that you can't eat because you have a choice to eat. You have money, you have food on the table, you can eat it, but you're choosing not to eat. And Allah wants you through this to recognize and realize the hunger of other people. And by doing that, it will help you to grow in your faith. That you can actually go forward and help those who are oppressed. And stand up for those who are oppressed. And give a voice to those who don't have a voice. This, my friends, is a sign that a person is growing spiritually. This is a litmus test that Allah has given in the Quran of showing how we can grow spiritually. So I will leave it at that. And inshallah, we will see you in Ramadan. Remember that in Ramadan, we are here every day. And we have topics already up. You can see the topics. Every day we have topics that are going on. Some topics chosen by people like yourself. And some topics chosen by us. We want to go through this Ramadan. Divine Allegiance will be there. Do tune in to us. You have the time, then we would be so happy to have you. And we will be airing these shows every day. And we'll announce the timings and all that. It's already written down there. Do share and like us and comment. It's really encouraging whenever we hear from all of you. Anything that you have to say, we take it to heart, and it encourages us and inspires us to do more. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Divine Allegiance, and I am your host, Maulana Baig. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.